Hi there, welcome to www.highschoolmaths.co.uk. Today we're going to be looking at significant figures and we're going to be looking at also how you round to a certain number of significant figures. So we've got a few examples here on the first page and a little definition we're going to talk over. This is a kind of follow on from your decimal places work. So you can see here that a number is considered significant if it has a value or shows accuracy. And basically what that means, for the first part, if it has a value, then it's a non-zero digit. So anything that's not zero would be considered significant. That's a nice, easy one to kind of point out and be able to identify. If it shows accuracy, a little bit trickier. If it shows accuracy, basically that's just telling you if the number has been measured to a certain number of decimal places. So we'll look at how that works in the examples below, because that's a wee bit more flexible in terms of its application. So you need to know the different kind of applications of that rule. So 0.24 has two significant figures, and that's what these are all the answers. So we're saying that that number is rounded to two significant figures. So here, the zero wouldn't count as a significant figure. It has no value because it's zero, and it's also just being used to place the decimal point. It doesn't tell us anything about the 2 and the 4. Okay, it doesn't tell us how accurate this measurement was. It's just there to place that decimal point. So these would be your significant figures here. So that would be your two significant figures. Now, if you look at the example below, 2.40, same digits, 2, 4, and 0, but in a different arrangement. So here, 2 and the 4, definitely non-zero. They're significant. The 0 is also significant in this case, though, because it tells us that measurement was accurate to at least those two decimal places. And overall, we've got three significant figures there. So this hasn't just been approximated to 2.40. It is exactly 2.40. It's not 2.41 or 2.39. It's 2.40. So moving down, 350. Again, the 3 and the 5 definitely significant, but the 0 there is just there to fill out the rest of the kind of number. So it doesn't tell you how accurate it doesn't tell you how accurate the measurement of the third digit is. If you wanted to have that to three significant figures, you'd have to show, or more, you'd have to put a decimal and start including extra decimal places to show more accuracy in the measurement. So here, 350, the only two numbers that are significant are the 3 and the 5. The 0 is just there to make sure they're in the correct place value, the correct column. Okay, 35.40, four significant figures. So 1, 2, 3, dead easy to spot those non-zero digits. The 0 again shows that it's been measured exactly to those two decimal places there. So that counts as a significant figure there. So 35.40, it's not just being used to place anything. It's been used to show that it was exactly 35.40, not 35.41 or 42. Okay, so that's four significant figures. And the last one, the first three zeros are just being used again to make sure this 3 is in the correct place. So just like we had with the 350 above, we had the 0 there just to make sure the 3 was in the hundreds column, the 5 was in the tens column. The three zeros here just place the 3 correctly into the thousands column. So we've got 3, and then the 0 and the 1 being significant figures because they're telling us that it's been measured to all those 5 decimal places, but 3 significant figures for the whole number there. Okay. Now, moving on, what you're more likely going to be asked to do when you come across significant figures is round an answer to a certain number of significant figures. And one of the big benefits, as you've seen already, is you can use significant figures on non-decimal numbers, whereas rounding to a decimal place only works if it's a decimal number. Significant figures is a good way of approximating all kinds of numbers. Okay, so let's look at the first example. We're going to do these all to one decimal place, and then 2, and then 3. With different examples. So we've got one significant figure. We're going to use a similar method to what we did with the decimal places. So if you looked at that video, then that'll give you a bit of an idea about rounding up and rounding down. But basically 5 or higher, rounding up, 4 or lower, rounding down. So we have to identify, in all these cases, the first significant figure. That would be the 4 in this case. And then we cut off. Okay, the cutoff point tells us to look at the number afterwards, which is a 2, and we decide, are we going to round up or down? So in this case, because it's 2, we round down. That number is going to round to 4. And that's basically saying with that number 4.24, if we're doing one significant figure, is it closer to 4 or is it closer to 5? It's closer to 4. Let's move on to the second example. So 5 is the first significant figure, cutoff point there. And we're going to, again, round down because there's a 0 after the line. So in this case, that's going to stay as a 5, but it doesn't make sense to round 50.65 to 5. So we've got to make sure that that 5 still in the correct place still has the correct place value. So we're going to need to add an extra 0 on there to make sure the 5 is still in the tens column, and we get the value 50, which makes much more sense. But when we're rounding this to one significant figure, we're saying, is it closer to 50 or is it closer to 60? And it's closer to 50, obviously, 50.65. 0.93. Again, here, the 0 has just been used to place the decimal points. The first significant number is the 9. Cut it off there. And if we look at the number after the 3, after the line, it's 3. So that tells us to round down. If we round down, that's going to go to 0.9. And that's going to be one significant figure. Okay. Next one's a little bit trickier. Okay, we'll see why. So again, it looks really similar, but we're going to be rounding up because it's an 8 after the line. And if we round up, that actually goes to, if you were doing it as decimal places, that would go to 1.0. Okay, so that looks fine. But if you think about that number, that's actually two significant figures, because the one significant, the 0 would tell us that, yeah, we've measured that exactly to that 0 measurement as well, that 0 in the tenths column. And that's not the case. That would be two significant figures, and we're asked to round to one significant figure. So to round to one significant figure, we're just going to round it to exactly 1. Okay, and that would be our significant figure there. So something to watch out for. Just make sure all your answers only have one significant figure in them, because that's what you're being asked to do. 210.5. So first significant figure, cut off, we're rounding down. So it's going to be a 2, and then the zeros to place the 2 into the 100 column to keep it the correct approximate value. And we're saying there, is that close to 200 or 300? Well, it's closer to 200. So let's move on to two significant figures. A simple extension. So we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to identify the first two significant figures. So 3 and a 3, cut-off point. So that'd be 3.37. 7 after a line means we round up. So that's going to go to 3.4. The next one, 21.81. So 1, 2, cut-off point. Again, an 8 after the line. So that means rounding up. So 22 would be our answer there. Not 22.0, because if we added a 22.0 in, that would make it three significant figures. Okay, so just 22. 1, 2 for significant figures. Cut-off point, it's a 2 after the line. That means round down. So it's going to stay the same. 1, 1. And then the zeros to make sure everything's in the correct place. But they don't count as significant because they're just there to place the 1 in the 1. Okay. Next one. 1, 2. Cut-off point. And with this one, if we look after the line, we're looking at a 0. So that means round down. So it's going to go to 800. Okay, so it's just staying the same with the 0 at the end to 2. And basically there you're saying, is it closer to 800 or is it closer to 810? When you're rounding to your two significant figures, it's closer to 800. Okay, and the final one for two significant figures, 1, 2, cut off point, and we're rounding down, so that's going to stay as 290, or also the 29 bit before the line stays the same, and a 0 to put it in the correct place value. Okay, and then three significant figures. So same thing, 1, 2, 3, cut-off point, we're rounding up, so it's going to be 4, 2, 5, and a 0 to make sure everything's in the correct place. Moving on, ignore the 3 zeros at the beginning. 1, 2, 3 are your first significant numbers. Cut-off point, so 4, 3, 9, we're rounding up, so it's going to go to 4, 4, 0. So 0.00, these aren't significant. 4, 4, 0, they're significant because they tell us that we've looked at it to at least that number of decimal places. Okay, so that extra 0 on the end is significant because it tells us that that was a 0 when we rounded. Okay, 24.39, 1, 2, 3, cut-off point, rounding up, so it's going to go to 24.4. Next one, 1, 2, 3, cut-off point, and here it's a 7 after the cut-off point, so it's going to round up, so it's going to go to 221. Okay, and again, that's just saying, is it closer to 220 or is it closer to 221? It's closer to 221. Okay, 389.56, so 1, 2, 3, cut-off point, round up for the 5, and that would go to 390. We'll put a point there just to show that that 0 at the end is significant, because we've actually measured it to those three significant figures, not just the 3 and the 9. Okay, so that point at the end would just tell us, in that case, that it was three significant figures. If we added an extra 0 onto the end there, 390.0, that would be 4 significant figures. So we've got to just put the point to show accuracy. There's a few different ways of doing that, but that would be the way I would show that in that case there. Okay, so significant figures, a little bit trickier than your decimal places work. Most of the examples you'll come across, especially in questions that you'll get in tests and exams, they'll be mostly straightforward. So as long as you know your basic ideas and how to approach a significant figure, round into significant figures, you should be fine with them. But hopefully that you found that useful. Again, if there's any parts you want to watch over again, just rewind the video and look over it. If you want to have a look at the decimals, decimal places video, go and have a look at that. That's also on the channel and on the website. And for other maths videos and other resources, go to www.highschoolmaths.co.uk. There's worksheets, there's resources, there's links to other websites. If you like the video, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe, and then make sure you share this video. And thanks for watching, and have a mathemagical day.